Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to talk about motivating growth and how this lesson goes with goal orientation and expectancy value theory. So, during my two stages of going through these theories, I noticed that I really related to the expectancy value theory and the goal orientation theory. And I just wanted to talk to y'all about how I applied these to my experiences and what I noticed and what I've done to try to change the way that people are motivated. So there were two acts of motivation that I went through in my personal experience. One was with my baseball players. A lot of them had lost connection with their teammates. They compared themselves to teammates. They lost motivation. They just really kind of questioned everything that we were doing because they weren't seeing growth right away. And that went with the goal orientation theory because they had a goal in their mind, but they weren't doing anything to produce that goal to come about. And then the second act was household responsibilities. Me and my wife, cleaning just felt overwhelming. Costs outweighed the value, and motivation just stayed low despite knowing it needed to be done. We know it needed to be done, cleaning around the house or getting clothes done or stuff like that. And that goes with the expectancy value theory. And the common lesson here is both experiences involve precipitations of success, value, and effort. You just had to find how we could pull those out. So, what is motivation? Motivation can be many things. Before I took this class, motivation was just about effort. That's what I thought motivation was, how much effort you put into something. Uh, Motivation involves goals, beliefs, values, and perceived cost. I did not know all of this before we came into the class. But one of the discoveries that I did have was that people were typically unmotivated when they couldn't see the progress, so they couldn't see themselves doing something the right way. They compared themselves to others. They didn't see the value in things that they were doing, and sometimes it just a task felt overwhelming. And that's classic for stuff in everybody's everyday life. The goal orientation theory, we really want to focus on mastery goals, is what I took from our readings over the course. Mastery goals, people focus on improvement, you focus on learning, you focus on self growth and skill development. When you would get to the performance goals, they start worrying about more of comparison, competition, looking capable of doing something. It's can I perform, not I want to perform. And then performance avoidance goals, it focused on avoiding failure and avoiding looking incompetent. Like if you and somebody else were doing a task, you didn't want to look like you weren't able to do it. You wanted to be able to complete it, even if you didn't do it in the same amount of time frame or something like that. So starting with my summer workouts in my baseball study was a lot of players were asking why am I working out if I'm not improving at all. Players did become discouraged whenever a teammate improved faster or they got stronger or they didn't see the progress immediately like that. So what was happening is what we're trying to figure out. What are they focused on? Were they focused on performance goals? Were they focusing on social comparison? When really they should have just been focusing on their personal growth. The only way as a team that we could get better is if one player was also getting better by themselves. Instead, we're focusing on, hey, why is Johnny getting faster than I am? Why is Willie? Why is he getting stronger than I am? It's just we got to focus on personal growth rather than performance. That makes you want to shift people towards their mastery goals because whenever we shift there, we start focusing on being more engaged, more persistent, and more confident. So what I did to shift them that way was I explained the workout's purpose. I explained why we were doing what lift, why we were doing it how many times. That way they could see and understand, oh, okay, we're doing lunges to get faster, or we're doing explosive squats to get stronger. It created individual goals. By that was Johnny was worried about how fast Johnny was going to get. Johnny was worried about how strong Johnny was going to get. He wasn't worried about Willie and how much he could squat. He was worried about how much Johnny could squat. If we just focused on our individual goals, if we improve that, we improve as a team altogether. We made them track personal progress. That really helped a lot because they could see in real time that they were getting faster or stronger. It helped reduce comparison. Yeah, you're still going to have, in competition sports, you're still going to have that little bit of comparison. So it's not just immediately going to go away, and it's not going to all go away. But it did reduce everybody comparing themselves to everybody else. And then it also normalized, you not growing in a max that next week. It normalized not getting faster that next week. It kind of normalized a failure before progress. And that's what we need to have if we were going to be a successful baseball team and shift towards mastery goals as all together, each person. And the reason that this would work for educators in the classroom is it has practical applications. So teachers would reward growth by, maybe encouraging a student, hey, look at what Sally did. She did A, B, and C. She did a great job. Everybody give her a round of applause. Or you could just pull her over and be like, hey, I think you're doing a great job. Here's a Jolly Rancher. You could celebrate improvement. Just like I said, you could tell everybody, hey, y'all are doing a great job. You can emphasize that they're putting a great effort in. Not every time that somebody does something does it have to be, always 100% correct. It can just be, hey, I think you're working really hard. I like how you're doing this. Let's just keep working and get better ourselves. And then it allows revision opportunities. So, if you didn't get something right on a test, hey, let's take it again. See if we can get it next time. It helps, especially with diverse learners. Students with disabilities, they can always try again, and they could see that they're growing on their own. It helps with English learners and students experiencing anxiety. And the key principle there was compare students to their previous selves, not each other. Then we shift to the expectancy value theory. So expectancy was, can I do this? It's a person's belief in their own ability to succeed in a task. Value is something, is it worth doing? How useful is it to me? How important is it to me? And then cost is, what will it require? Will it require effort? Will it require time? Will it require not doing something else when this needs to be done? So all of these have to come in together for the expectancy value theory to come about. So when it comes to the household cleaning tasks with me and my wife, the problem was my wife knew that she needed to help clean the house, or both of us knew the house needed clean, but there just wasn't a want to do it. So the demands of it made cleaning overwhelming. The EVT analysis was that we could expect to be able to do it. We knew that both of us could do it. The value was somewhat there, but the cost was extremely high. Like after a day of going to school, coming home, and having to get supper ready, and then tending to our daughter, neither of us wanted to do it because it just felt like it was going to use up so much of our time. So we knew that we were capable of doing it, but she just didn't have that cost, wasn't there for her. So that is the difference in the want and not want, and knowing you can do it and not knowing you can do it. The second strategy I wanted to do was to increase the value. So what I did was I reframe cleaning as, family time. We could do something together, even though it might seem that we're just doing chores. We're still doing something together. It does help reduce our stress. So, like when you know that your house is clean, it's a better environment. It's less stressful, and it's more peaceful. And it resulted in the task becoming more meaningful rather than just another chore. The third thing was to reduce the cost, and how I did that was we broke it up into smaller tasks. I shared the responsibility with her. We worked together, and we just did it in 20, 30 minutes at a time, where then we could take a break and goof around with our daughter. So after that, the task did become a lot more manageable, and the motivation increased because when you have a clean house, you want to keep a clean house. And then the last thing was added enjoyment. What I did was we played music together. We talked while we were cleaning. We worked together. It worked because it was an intrinsic value. It made it for ourselves, it made it more enjoyable. And the way that you can use this in a classroom was you can use it to collaborate. You can include a different choice. You can incorporate technology. And you can create an engaging learning experience. And how you can reframe this for the classroom is teachers can learn that students are in fact lazy, like they're just not lazy. Instead, they just might not see a value in it. So they might ask you, why do I need to do this? As a middle school teacher, I hear that question all the time. They maybe have a fear of failure, and that's your performance avoidance. They might feel overwhelmed, and that's just, is it too much to do? That's a common question. They think it's too much to do, that the cost of it is just too high. And then they might lack direction. There could be no goal in place at all. And so we got to stop thinking, oh, these kids are lazy. We got to start visualizing, oh, well, maybe they just might have performance avoidance goals. They might not have mastery goals. They might not have those intrinsic values. But there's different ways you can use motivational values. You can use motivational strategies for diverse learners by creating environments where they prioritize growth rather than ranking themselves between each other. You can help students see the relevance. You can reduce the cost of the task by making them more about learning rather than getting a good grade. You can break tasks into smaller steps by making the progress seem visible and having a checklist. You can have effort-based feedback. You can stop them after so many questions and be like, hey, I think you're doing a great job. Let's check here and fix this. But besides that, I think you're on the right track. And then you can encourage reflection and self-growth, where maybe they look at their work and be like, okay, well, I did this many number of problems in this amount of time. I'm doing better than I did last week on it. And they can see the growth themselves rather than seeing it as a 70 on a test or a 50 on a test. And just to bring both of those together, goal orientation taught me that people need a healthy definition of success. If you don't have a healthy definition of success, how are you going to be successful? And then expected value theory taught me that people need meaningful, manageable tasks. If you don't have something that means something to you or it's manageable to get done, why would I do it? But the common lesson here is motivation grows when people understand why something matters. They can see the progress. They feel capable. They focus on their growth, and they face manageable challenges. There's a lot of ways that these can be the same, but there's a lot of ways that these are different. So whenever you think about goal orientation, one of the biggest takeaways is, hey, is this task, do I know why I'm doing it? Is there a mastery behind it? And then expectancy value is do I know I can do it, but how much is it going to cost? How much do I value doing this? And then just at the last bit of this, I just have a few beliefs that I believe most people are motivated when they focus on personal growth rather than comparison, that they understand the task and they value it. Experiences they experience success through different steps, and then they receive support during challenges. And not everybody's going to be motivated about everything. We all know that. Not all of us are motivated about doing certain things in our everyday life. But the core behind this is being able to do stuff and wanting to do stuff really do dictate our motivation. So at the end of the day, your call to action could be, am I experiencing and emphasizing growth? Do people understand why a task matters? How have I reduced unnecessary barriers? And am I helping people recognize their progress? As teachers, coaches, or even spouses, I think that goal orientation and expectancy value theory are two theories that we can absolutely use in an everyday practice. And as long as you can make your students, make your spouse, make your players see that there are reasons behind everything, and that they should have some value in everything that they do, whether that's, is it going to cost a little bit or is it going to cost a lot, or should they value it a lot. I think as long as we are using those two theories, that we can help students understand why they should be motivated for more success.